These little pansies are a really lovely one to add to your spring buttercream flower repertoire. They come in all sorts of colours, so you can choose anything you like. My favourite ones are these purple and yellow ones, and I've got those colours mixed up, so I've gone for those ones today. Now to pipe the flowers, I like to use a flower nail. So I've got this GG flower nail here from the Butterfly Cake Shop. It's got this little grid in the middle, and also you want the little block so that you can be hands-free. Now I bought these from the Butterfly Cake Shop the other day as well. They're pre-cut little squares to put on your flower nail. They're the perfect size, they're really good quality, and you can keep them all in one place. I absolutely love them. So I'll link these below in the description for you. The piping tips I'm using to make the pansies, for the purple top petals, I'm using a GG105. It's just a long straight piping tip. It's got the long end on the bottom, and this shorter end on the top is always what creates the outside edge of your petals. For the bottom petals, I'm using a GG102. If you haven't got the GG piping tips, you could use a 104, and the same with this one. If you haven't got it, you could use a 125. It just will be a little bit thicker because you've got that fat base to the shape. This one again, it's got a long end on the bottom and the short end on the top creates the edge of the petals. Now when they're done, I just add a little finishing touch. I've got a number 2 round here with some sunflower yellow in it. I've got the 352 leaf tip, and I've got some more green here in a piping bag, and I've just snipped a little bit off the end. So that's just to stick the flowers on with. Get your cupcake crumb coated, because when they come out of the freezer you want to work quite quickly. And then you'll also want a flat tray or a board. I've got this tiny little lid here because I'm only going to pipe 3 today, but however many you're going to pipe, you want a flat board that you can put them on that will fit into your freezer. Have a piece of paper towel handy, and then take up your flower nail, and we'll add a bit of parchment to the top. So take a little piece of buttercream. You only need a small amount. It's just to stick the little square of parchment onto the top, and then you want to just push it flat so that you're working on a nice flat surface. Then take up your GG105 tip, push all the buttercream down to the bottom, and make sure the bag is nice and tight and not too much in it. So we're going to pipe the first 2 petals onto the nail. I'll hold the piping tip parallel to the flower nail, and as I squeeze, I'm going to turn the nail. So I'm going to create the shape of the petal using the flower nail. So touch down, squeeze, and as you squeeze, turn the nail, keep going round. When you've got to this shape, stop and come off. So you've got this little teardrop shaped petal. I'm going to put one more over the top of this just to give it a bit of sturdiness when I handle it. So I'm just piping straight over the top. And then I'm going to create another one, and I'm going to overlap them. So you'll get like a frilly shape to this one because it will go over the buttercream and back onto the nail. So I'm going to start in the middle here, and then again turn the nail. As you squeeze, stop and come off. And then I'll put one more over that one as well. So they're the top petals done. and you can pop that in the block. And then I'm going to take up my GG102. Normally I'd have a bit more buttercream in my bag here. I haven't got very much left, so it might be a little bit tricky to pipe, but just about got a grip on it. So take up the nail. Then I want to put 3 little petals, one on each side and one on the bottom, and I'm going to overlap them onto this purple. So I'm going to start in the middle here and then turn the nail as a pipe, same way as before, but these ones are going to be a little bit smaller. So start in the middle and then turn the nail as a pipe round, stop and come off, and then I'm going to do one opposite that one, so over the purple. So I'm going to start in the middle, turn the nail as you pipe, stop and come off, and then I'm going to put one more in the middle underneath. So I'm always starting that yellow one in the same place, right in the middle. Then I'll take up this darker yellow with this little number 2 piping tip, and I'm just going to put a little dot there. Now to take it off the nail, take a corner of the parchment and slide it off, and as you do, slide it onto your fingers so that you're supporting your flower. Take your tray and then take another corner and place it flat down. And that's that one done. So we'll do another 2 of those. So squeeze out a little bit of buttercream onto the nail. Put a bit parchment on top. Make sure it's nice and flat. You can just smush it onto the table if you want. And take up the GG105. Turn the nail as you pipe your petal around in a semicircle, stop and come off. And then I'm going to overlap the next petal again. So my piping tip is always starting at that same center point. So when I take up the yellow here, I'm going to start from that point, overlap onto the purple, and then the opposite side, and then one on the bottom. It was a bit flimsy, so I'll put another one over the top of that one. Then I'll add a little dot. You could add this in this colour, you could add it in white. It's just a little something in the middle. Pop that one on the tray. And then one more. I've got enough buttercream on here to stick, so I'm just going to pop that on. So a nice tight bag. And I'm going to wipe my piping tip off here because it's a little bit mucky on the bottom. You always want to work with a clean piping tip. So again, I'm going to hold it against the flower now. Turn it as I squeeze, stop, come off, go right over the top of it again, and then put the next petal on so that they're overlapping. Got a nice curve on this one. They look really good when it curves like that. And then I'll add the yellow, and again I'm just going to clean off the piping tip. Make sure your bag's always nice and tight. Start at the same point and move the nail round as you pipe, stop and come off. Do the opposite side and then one in the middle. Add a little dot. And then you can put this one onto the board as well. So now I'm going to pop these into the freezer, and I'm going to leave them in there for about 15 minutes. So these have had 15 minutes in the freezer, and you want to work quite quickly with them now because they defrost really fast. So you've got your crumb coat on your cupcake. Now take up your green with no piping tip, and I'm just going to add a little splodge of buttercream a bit in from the edge like that for it to stick to. And then you want to peel off the first pansy, so just gently peel off the paper from the back, handle it gently, and then you can just gently push it onto that blob. And that's the first one on. And then turn the cake, add another little blob, and take up your second one. Now when they're frozen like this and you first put them onto the blob, it won't stick very well because it's frozen. But just leave it, once you've pushed it onto that blob, just leave it where it is, and as it defrosts it will stay put. So take up the last one, peel off the paper, and then gently just push him onto that blob. And that's your pansies on your cake. And then it's handy to have a bit of paper towel handy after you've handled them because you'll have sticky fingers. Now I'm going to add a bit of detail to these yellow petals here with a bit of food colouring. So this is the Colour Splash Purple, and I've just squeezed a little bit out onto a plate. And I've got one of these dainty little cocktail sticks. So you can make some really thin, delicate lines with these. So dip it into the colour. Take up your cupcake. Just on the yellow petals, I'm going to really gently add a few little delicate lines coming out from the centre of the petals. And I'm going to do that on all of the yellow petals. I find doing this bit so therapeutic. I just drift off into my own little world adding these little details. If you get a colour build up at the top where you've just put the stick on, you can just put the stick back into that little build up and drag it out so that you haven't got a big splodge of colour on the petal. You want to keep it as thin as you can. And go really, really delicately. So though they are frozen, they are starting to defrost, so you want to work quickly but very gently. If you wanted to do the pansies that have the little dark centres, you would just line the piping bag. So the long part of the tip, you'd line that side of the bag with a darker colour and pipe them in exactly the same way. And the last petal now. There we go. Now I'm going to finish off the cupcake by adding some leaves. So take up the 352 leaf tip. So remember, this is your bird's beak one. You want to make sure you know where this point is so you get the right shape leaf. Get your bag nice and tight. Get your angle of your piping tip right so you've got that point. Then I'm going to come down into the center and I'm just going to pipe one leaf poking out the top. And then I'm going to fill in these gaps here. I'll hold the piping tip parallel to the cupcake and pull outwards so that the leaves are flat against the cupcake. So I'll put one in the middle and then one either side just to cover that gap. And there you go, there's a little trio of cute pansies to add to your spring collection of buttercream flowers.